some kind of an ark involved. And we talked about Noah's Ark, and the word ark simply means a box. So our concept of a ark with two bows is imagination. It didn't need a bow because it wasn't propelled, and it was just going to float. Same with the ark that Moses' mom put him in. It didn't have to go anywhere. It wasn't propelled, but it had to be waterproof. In those bulrushes, okay, they weren't just, we read it and we go, okay, bulrushes. Those things they're papyrus and they're absorbent. So when she put that pitch and slime and all those things it says she did inside and out again, both times, it didn't just coat it, it absorbed into it. So each one of these arcs, you see something upgrade. And so today we're going to talk about the Ark of the Covenant, because if we could go to Exodus 25, in verse 8, we'll start there. Before that, it's talking about all the stuff they did to make the tabernacle, the badger skins and all that kind of stuff. And if you want to take time to study it, it all means something. But he had to make this tabernacle, and he had to make it according to a pattern, again. And when we talked about Paul and Aquila, they were tent makers, or in the Greek you could say they were tabernacle builders. Okay? This tabernacle was going to be for God to meet his people. What Paul and Aquila was building was people for God to live in. Okay? So if you get the analogy there of tabernacle, and we are a tabernacle. We'll see, because we sing a song, Make Me a Sanctuary. Don't we sing a song about that? Okay, I thought we did. It says, after he gives them all the stuff, dimensions for the tabernacle, he says, and let them make me a sanctuary that I may dwell among them. God wants to dwell among us. And among us doesn't mean like I'm here and he's there and he's among us. He wants to be among us. And so he wants to really be among us. You can't get any more among us than that. Okay? So make me a place that I may dwell among them, according to all that I show thee, after the pattern of the tabernacle. Oh. Moving me up from 25:8 to 9, and we're going to go down quite a ways. According to all that I show thee, after the pattern of the tabernacle, and the pattern of all the instruments thereof, even so shall ye make it. So there's going to be some dimensions and stuff, right? And they all mean something. Sometimes we don't see it right off. We have to kind of study it and dig it out if we want to. And they shall make the ark of shittim wood. Okay? That's like the acacia tree. All these woods, the gopher wood and this wood and the bulrushes, they all have properties that each time it's a better thing. Okay? If you own a boat, you don't really want a wooden boat anymore. There's better materials to make them out of. if you were in the Navy and you were in there long enough, the younger guys would make fun of you that you were on the ARK-1, or that you were in the Navy when the ships were made of wood. So my response was, yes, the ships were made of wood and the men were made of steel. So you see, there's always an upgrade. And you shall make the ark of shittim wood, 2 cubits and a half shall be the length thereof, and a cubit being 18 inches. So 2 of them will be 36, and another half will be another 9, if you want to know that. And a cubit and a half breadth, and thereof, and a cubit and a half height. So it's basically a kind of rectangular cube. And next one, please. And thou shalt overlay it with pure gold within and without. Shalt thou overlay it, and it shall make upon it a crown of gold round about. Okay, this is a kind of what God's doing with us. This shittim wood is incorruptible. Okay, you got to start with a base of something. In 1 Corinthians 15, Paul talks about this corruptible must put on incorruption. God's not going to put immortality over corruption. That don't make sense. I don't know about you, but I have a hard time putting clean clothes over me if I don't take a shower first. I just feel creepy. I don't want to cover up, I want to be clean. And so he wants us to be clean. A lot of people have this idea we're going to be raptured and get cleaned on the way up. No, the changing, the resurrection takes place in the twinkling of an eye, but the incorruption doesn't take place that way. I mean, we could just be hell raisers until we're taken out, and that it. That's not how it works. Better read the, Paul's epistles and everything. And there's a Bible that's this thick, and the basic salvation message is in a tract this big. Well, it's not covering everything, I don't think. And don't tell people it is, because you do them a disservice, because they're wasting all that time. They could be getting rid of their corruption, putting on incorruption, so that this mortal can put on immortality. And it's a great thing. We don't want to make something immortal that's bad. If that was the case, God could take Satan and cover him with gold. But it doesn't work that way. So anyway, getting back to this, overlay it with pure gold, okay? He wants to put his divine nature in us and outside of us. A lot of people like to show it off outside, but nothing's going on good inside. It's got to be in both places. Both arks were inside and out. So, I'm glad God's going to clean me up so I don't have any corruption, I don't stink, I don't have to cover it up with foo-foo juice. I'll smell good just because I'll be exuding who he is. I'll be a sweet-smelling savor without artificial stuff. Myself, I hate flowery, smelly stuff, especially when you spray it in a bathroom. It's like, there's a good smell, there's a bad smell. I got to smell them both. I'll just soon leave, not smell any of it. God does not want a mixture. He wants us to be pure and holy and righteous. And too many people say you can't do it because, like I said, you're trying to do it in your own strength. You got to plug that mixer into the wall and use the power of God to do it. You stand on the bank of the Jordan and say, we can't go in there, there's giants. Well, of course, they're bigger than you and stronger and more of them maybe. But God can trip them up. Okay, you got to add him into the equation and then it's better. Okay? So, you can overlay it with gold and put a gold crown on it. Now that's like, we talk about crown moldings. That's what it was. It was like a molding that went around the thing. Okay, and it was made out of pure gold. God wants to give you a crown of gold. What's crown mean? It means you're reigning. It means you're in some kind of a situation where you're a king. You're a king's son, you're a prince. Israel means I'm the prince of God. What's the prince going to eventually be? The king. Or if he isn't the king, he's going to be a delegate of the king. Remember, he sent his son to get the fruit from the guys, and they killed him. Okay? We're princes. Maybe you want to be a princess. I don't care. You can't. I don't want to be a princess. I know that. But God wants to put you in his government and make you somebody. But first we have to line up with him. You know, when you send somebody to the UN and he's supposed to be the ambassador, he's got to keep in contact with the president and the State Department and everybody to make sure we're all on the same page. You don't make a deal with Russia or somebody that's detrimental or that is not according to our policy. Okay? God wants us on the same page. And we're going to turn to his page. He's not going to turn to our page. So go to the next one, please. And thou shalt cast 4 rings of gold for it, and put them in the 4 corners thereof. And 2 rings shall be on one side of it, and 2 rings on the other side. Next. And thou shalt make staves of shittim wood, and overlay them with gold. And that's a weird word. I mean, a stave is basically a stick. Okay? It can come in many different ways. This one probably was pretty stout because it had to carry a lot of weight. One of the words that means is a chief of a city. Somebody that carries the responsibility of something. Okay? And so they had to put them through the rings and then carry it. Who carried it? The priests carried it. Okay? We talked about this Wednesday night. When the Philistines captured the ark and they decided that it wasn't doing them any good, they decided to send it back. And they got 2 milk cows in a cart, and they put it on there and they sent it. Okay? And when it got there, the Israelites, it had been gone like 20 years, I think, something like that. So when David and them tried to move it, and Uzzah put his hand out because it was going to fall off, and he died. Why? Because the whole thing was being done wrong. Animals did not cause the fall in the garden. Man did. It's man's responsibility to carry the weight of this thing, not some animal. But up until Jesus come, who was the ones shedding their blood? The animals. So they carried this ark, which basically is Jesus, the sacrificial lamb, carrying his cross. And what happened to them things when they got where they were going? They chopped up the wood and killed the animals and made a sacrifice. So it's kind of symbolic of what happened at the cross. Okay? And now man had to take over carrying that thing again. They had to go read up. Oh, the priests are supposed to be carrying it. People that are consecrated and sanctified to do this job, not just anybody. And so they got the thing where it was going. And we'll read something right now. Go to the next one. And thou shalt put the staves into the rings by the sides of the ark, that the ark may be borne with them. Okay, so 4 guys would be on the corners probably. I don't know how long the things were. Maybe 2 guys could be on each one. I don't know. Next one. Staves shall be in the rings of the ark. They shall not be taken from it. Okay? This burden is going to stay there. But guess what? Go to 1 Kings 8:8. Now this thing was going to be carried all over the wilderness and all over everywhere they went. Go to the one just before it. See what that says. Talking about the cherubim. Okay. Let's go back to 8, please. They got to the point where the ark was not going to travel anymore. It's going to stay where it was. This is after Solomon built the temple. And so they drew out the staves, that the ends of the staves were seen out in the holy place before the oracles, and they were not seen without, and there they are unto this day. The burden of it, it was in a place now where it was going to stay. Okay, God wants to stay. This coming and going, I'm in, I'm out, I'm up and down, is not what he's after. And we don't want it either. I don't want to be a Samson. I can't make up my mind, and I do stupid things because I'm not talking to God and finding out what he wants. And so if we can go back to where we were, you get the idea that this ark and everything keeps moving along. Things keep upgrading. Where were we? 25, I don't know how far down we had gone. Yeah, Exodus 25. Okay, around 16. 25:16. Okay, now, what's going to be inside the ark? You can build this box and then carry around an empty box. That don't make no sense, does it? To some people, it didn't make sense to carry the box around with something in it. Didn't see what it was about. So thou shalt put into the ark the testimony which I shall give thee. Keep going. For thou shalt make a mercy seat of pure gold, 2 cubits, and it's the same dimensions, only now it's the lid. Okay. And this is the mercy seat. This is where they sprinkled blood on and things like that. And the 2 cherubim, whatever you want to say, were there. They were made of beaten work. Okay, in other words, they weren't molded. They took a piece of gold with a little hammer and a lot of work and patience and skill. They made these. They also made the trumpets out of beaten gold. I mean, how do you make a trumpet out of Think about all the different intricacies of a horn, even if it's just a plain horn. How do you make it out of beaten gold? They're going to be at the 2 ends, and their wings are going to come like that if you ever saw a picture of it. Next one. And make 1 cherub on the one side end and the other cherub on the other end, even of the mercy seat shall ye make the cherub on the 2 end thereof. And the cherubim shall stretch forth their wings on high, covering the mercy seat with their wings, and their faces shall look one to the other. Toward the mercy seat shall the faces of the cherubim be. Thou shalt put the mercy seat above upon the ark, and in the ark thou shalt put the testimony that I shall give thee. And there I will meet with thee. Okay? This is where God wanted to meet with his people. Everything is going great here to put us in a position to meet with God and commune like you would with a friend instead of an enemy. Okay? God tells us to love his enemies. Why? Because that's what he's doing all the live long day. He's loving us when we're unlovable sometimes. And there I will meet with thee, and I will commune with thee from above the mercy seat, from between the 2 cherubim which are upon the ark of the testimony, of all things which I will give thee in commandment unto the children of Israel. Thou shalt also make a table of shittim wood, 2 cubits shall be the length thereof, and that was for the showbread. Okay? The whole point here is that God's making a covenant with his people, and at each stage he's doing something, leaving behind some kind of a thing that shows we did something. You know, when they carried the ark into the land, what did they do? Each tribe took a stone when the water was not there and it was dry land. They took a stone, put it in the river, and then took a stone that was in the river and took it out and stuck it out on the bank. What did that mean? Baptism. The whole tribe was baptized symbolically with those rocks. And then in years to come, when the kids say, what's this pile of rocks about? Okay, it's a memorial. It's something that you have, you can tell a story about. It's going to evoke some curiosity, and then you're going to satisfy the curiosity by telling them what happened there. I don't know about you, but when I find something historical that comes down to me, whether it's good or bad, I feel like I'm a part of something. Okay? When I was little, we were still basking in the aura of winning World War II. Everything was about that we had won World War II. In all the movies and all, everything was about that. Now not so much. When I told you I met that lady that was at the Little Bighorn, she was 105 years old. She was 11 years old when that happened. And how often do you get to meet somebody like that? It's amazing how people live into your time that you read about. And so the ark, what they ended up putting in the ark is what God wants to put in us. He put in the 10 Commandments, right? Jeremiah, he says, I want to write my law in your heart. I just don't want it to be something you read about over here and try to do. I want to put the operation of that in you so that that's how you operate. You don't have to be told not to kill somebody. You just aren't going to do it. It wouldn't even cross your mind to do it. Okay? And they put in a pot of manna, the Word, His Word. Do you remember if you picked up your manna and you tried to save some for the next day, what happened to it? It got spoiled. Except on Sabbath day, you could pick up twice as much the day before, so you didn't have to pick any up on the Sabbath day. But otherwise, it rotted. Well, this manna He wants to put inside us isn't going to rot. Okay? It's going to continue to be manna. Feed us. And the other thing was Aaron's rod that budded. There's people who called into question whether Aaron should be the priest. All of us are sanctified. We're all God's people. We're all holy. Well, God didn't think so. The 250 guys that rebelled died. And then He took those rods, each one for each tribe, 12 of them, and overnight, Aaron's rod budded and it made almonds. You know how long it takes an almond tree to make almonds? From what I've read, if you plant the almond tree, you don't get to eat the almonds. Somebody else does, 100 years later. I mean, why would you plant a tree for somebody else? Because you love them. Okay? And you do something that, how many things do you do right now in anticipation of making a better life for your kids? Okay? Why do we fight wars? So they don't have to live under a Nazi boot or something. Okay? There's all kind of things that maybe you don't think that way, but we do them to benefit our kids so they have at least as good a life as we have. And you want them to have something better. And so that almond that budded proved overnight that God chose Aaron. And everybody else, you just stay in your lanes. Okay? So, I don't know for sure where we're going to go with this next week, but next week we'll go on with this idea of covenants, that God makes covenants so we can feel secure and know where we stand with Him and He with us. And every one of them benefits us and improves our life. And that's the whole thing behind when He said, be fruitful and multiply. He doesn't mean just multiply like more people. He means multiply your character, multiply who you are. Rabbah, increase, excel, get better. And that's what he's trying to do until we reach the point where we're just like him. So, there's your goal. Talk about it next week.